We're live.
Hey, Tim, how you going?
Excellent, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Very good. Happy Wednesday, hump day.
Yes, another fantastic Wednesday, hey? Just done,
Yes.
dusted, sorted, and here we are. What a way to
Yeah.
end.
Yes,
Busting out
I
of my shirt. I've grown since I last wore this one, hey?
know. Been working out,
Yeah, apparently.
apparently.
No, I have been. I've been working really hard, actually. But
Yeah, you've got your challenge. Is that still
yeah.
running at the moment?
Yeah, we extended it for one more month, which is excellent and terrifying at the same time. But we're going to talk about what you focus on today, and we're going to talk about why we can focus on it being excellent, and that's going to work really well for me. So by the end of this, it'll be essentially a coaching session for me to get through the last 4 weeks of this challenge and to beat all the other trainers. That's the plan.
Oh, nice work. Love it. Love
Sweet.
it. So as Tim just said, we're talking about what we expand on. What we focus on expands, and that can go positive and negatively. So we're going to talk about some experiences we've had and just some tips and what that actually means and something that you can maybe take away with you. So if you jump on and make sure you hashtag, say hi and let us know where you're from, or if you're replaying, hashtag replay and interact with us and ask us questions, share, maybe share some of your experiences that you've had. So we'd love to share that with you. So I just wanted to start with the Oprah Winfrey quote, and it's what you focus on expands, and when you focus on the goodness in your life, you create more of it. Oprah Winfrey. So that's where we're going to start off with, Tim. So it can happen in like both sides of things, right? And if you've got things that you're focusing on that maybe are more of a negative, you would seem to attract so much more of that, don't you? And then if you focus on things that are really positive in your life, and whether that's abundance, love, just attracting friends, attracting wealth, opportunities, those types of things, more of those things seem to attract, and that law of attraction.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? We talked about the positives and negatives, and it can be really easy to spiral into those negatives and get stuck there. And it can be sometimes easy to slip out of it when you're focusing on the positives as well. So you might be there and you're attracting lots of positives and things are going good. And we can have that fear of success freak out moment and then drop off, and then we'll stop focusing on all the good, or we'll get to a certain level and then we'll go, I'm not used to doing this, and I'll start to focus on the bad, and then you'll start attracting more of that bag, and we'll start to see that pattern of up, down, up, down, up, down of success and failure. So
absolutely.
And with an Oprah quote to start, mate, it's going to be pretty hard to match that with us today. We'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, we're pretty much done. That's exactly. It's really good summary, isn't it?
She did great.
And it's kind of like, as you plant, you're planting seeds and you watch them grow. If you're planting negative seeds constantly, you're constantly going to have negative plants grow and negative things grow around you. Where if you're, planting positive seeds, then, more of that's going to come to you and surround you. And, we'll give some tips at the end of the things that we've done and we've learned to help us to shift that thinking. It's all about the thinking in the mind, isn't it? The patterns that we have, the internal dialogue. If we're constantly telling those stories of those negative things that we've had in the past and maybe past experiences, we continue, thinking about those, and that's who we are, and that's all that we're going to have, and that's all we're going to be. That movie continues, continues to roll, doesn't it? So it's about shifting that. Shifting that pace or shifting that gear and that focus, so that we focus on things that are actually going to be more positive, even if you sometimes don't feel like they're actually right here, right now. Sometimes can be a stretch for people, but the more you start talking about it and believing that it's coming and believing it, it's there with you already, then that's when it expands and grows.
Yeah, it's something that just really popped up for me too, as you talked about that shift gear, and we also talk about is that just that slight altered perception or perspective on a certain element in your life too. So, Kate, you would have experienced this when a client comes up to you and is telling you the whole story, right? And then you might just offer just a slightly different perspective. Like, how about if you thought about it this way? Or how about if you looked at it this way? Or how about if you see it from this angle? And then all of a sudden it's a complete mind shift, gone boom, right? So it stops being this really negative issue, and it can start to be quite the positive or the opportunity, or that you're starting to search for the good in whatever the situation is.
Yeah, absolutely. it can just change so quickly, can't it? Because we're so used to being programmed to think in a certain way, and how we've been brought up, or if we've always done things the same way, until you actually someone does, and that's the coaching that we do with with our clients, isn't it? As you mentioned, that once someone asks you a question from a different perspective, or have you thought about it in this way? What's the purpose of you actually having those thoughts and thinking back at the past and not looking in the future or present, more present? You don't think to, don't change that way of thinking. Things don't change. So you just stay the same, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And that can be the danger of, again, what you focus on is what you're going to get, and what you focus on is going to expand too. Because if you are caught down that negative channel, then you just keep seeing more negative, right? It's just going to be everywhere. And an example that comes to mind for me is the coronavirus situation. I'm down in Melbourne. We got the stage 4 lockdown, and it's very easy to get caught up into, oh, yep, it's crap, and we shouldn't be doing this, and we should be protesting. We should be getting out there and sticking up for our rights and all that sort of stuff. And we've been put in the box, and we're in jail, right? You're in jail down here in Melbourne. Well, we're not really. You're living in your house that it's actually a pretty good life, and we're pretty well looked after. I wouldn't call this jail at all, because it's a pretty luxurious one. But it's just that different.
You keep telling yourself that you are, and the negative around it, that's all you're going to keep focusing on and finding. So the mind seems to keep looking for those things, don't you? Like when you're sitting in that space.
Yeah, and the mind can only process so much of the information that's coming in at once. So it likes to highlight things, to make things a little bit easier for us. So if we are on that negative train, the like attracts the like, and you'll just start to see those negative thoughts pop up. And a good example of this too is, if you've ever bought the brand new car, you've got the white hatchback in my case, and then all of a sudden everybody's got a Volkswagen Golf GTI. Like I didn't even know. I thought I had this really unique automobile, but I didn't. Apparently everyone in the street does it, because now it's been brought to your attention. Now your mind is highlighting it, and it's the same, the positive experiences or the negative things that you focus on, you'll start to just see them everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like, talking about the Melbourne, stuff at the moment, and it's like, and even up here, it's starting to, things are, shifting a little bit. There's some, there's more areas that are having some, things going on. But, looking at the news all the time, once you're watching it all the time, that, that brings you to focus more on that negative side of things. You've got to be aware, obviously, but, it's about, it's feeding that mind to keep looking for those negative things, and it brings people into that downward spiral.
Yeah, it definitely does. And then you might find too, you've ever been in that situation, to prove this point further, where you're having a bad, or it's raining outside. So, some people might call it a bad day, and I'm like, hey, Kate, the weather's terrible down here. It's horrible. Yeah, and then you'll be like, yeah, it is. It's just been so cold and wet and miserable, and now we're both miserable about the weather, right? You weren't even a part of it, but now you are. You're like, yeah, it is crap. Oh, it was a terrible day. Damn Wednesdays. I hate Wednesdays. They're always wet.
Yeah. It's that energy shift, like that energy projection, isn't it? When you when you talk, that leads into like talking about it more too. When you're around people that are always talking about negative things, or always talking and whinging about, poor me, these things keep happening. Why is this always happening? Those types of things. That just feeds more negativity and more, and that rubs off. That's kind of like a emotional, where you're actually targeting it onto someone. There's a it's called something. It's called something else. That you're projecting it onto your negativity or your thoughts onto other people. Which then, if you aren't prepared to kind of go, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying, and then be able to go, all right, not going like that to someone's face, obviously, but talk to my hand. Talk to my hand. It's more like you're pushing that negative energy away. It's like you're not taking it on. I was talking to a client the other day, actually, and what was it? It was something about exactly that. She said that she was finding it really challenging because the person that she was talking to was putting a lot of stress onto. That's right. It's come to me what the actual situation was. So the stress was coming to her from a family member, and she was feeling really exhausted by it because they were offloading. And I said, it's about learning how to, and I gave her some tools on how she can actually disconnect from actually having someone else's problems, someone else's issues, someone else's stress to become yours, even though you can still be there for someone. But kind of putting that little bit of a protective layer around you to stop that from becoming your being and your energy.
Yeah, and it's always up to us to accept it on the other end, right? If they're throwing it out there, so it's a really valid point. Hey.
Yeah, and it can be sometimes you can easily get caught up in it, can't you? So, how can you disconnect? Disconnect from that. And the first thing is being aware of it, being aware that these, people that may be in your life that are surrounding you are like that. And it's like, okay, well, what can you do differently next time when that comes up? And just kind of thinking about whether you really need to take that on. You can be there for the person and listen and have them share, but go, that's not my, I'm going to actually leave that with them. Doesn't mean you are a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're you're not there for them or things like that. It's just that it doesn't have to become yours, and it's really powerful. It totally is, and especially when it can have such an effect on your state, right? And that affects the productivity, your interactions later, and all that sort of stuff. So you're constantly, if you're the kind of person that constantly absorbs this stuff, then you're probably having a lot of bad days. It's exhausting.
Because someone will trigger you throughout the day. They'll
Absolutely.
do that projection. You go. One of the things when I was first learning about this stuff that I picked up was sometimes it's just you just say thank you. So somebody's doing all their stuff, and you might choose a different word based on the conversation you're having, but you just go, oh, thanks, awesome. Thanks for the feedback, and just leave it. So you just close the conversation. That's cool. You just thank them. They feel good. They've been thanked. You can't argue with gratitude.
Absolutely.
And then you can choose what you want to do with that information on the back end and go, look, that was great, but thanks and I'm good. And just close it up.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about the energy and like taking things on. When I first started coaching a couple of years ago, more of the mindset coaching and the deeper work, it was really challenging I was exhausted, because I hadn't learned how to have people share and offload. And even as a trainer, we get told a lot, like a lot of PTs, that you get told a lot of information, you get told people offload a lot. But it's about learning how to, because it's very exhausting physically and mentally and emotionally to take all that stuff on. And once I started doing more of the deeper work and people were sharing some really deep stuff, and some of them can be, horrifying things that have happened in people's lives. I was like getting off the phone or getting off the sessions and like so exhausted, but once I had the skills to be able to be there, be empathetic, provide that space for people and even friends and people around you. Like once I was able to do that, I was able to be there and hear them and still be just as helpful and just as caring, but not have to take on all of it, because we just can't, it's not healthy to actually take on everyone else's stuff. We naturally caring people want to do that. And it's, can be challenging. I had a kid actually, the one I'm doing the mentoring program at, and he's in year 8 at school, in high school. And it was interesting the other day, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about exactly the similar thing, and he's only a young boy. And it's a big pressure for him because his friends, he's a caring, easygoing fella, and all his friends come to him and offload all this confidential, kid stuff as, offload it to him. And he's a secret, like he keeps secrets, and he's obviously not telling anyone else, but he shared it with me that, and I asked him, how does that feel for him? And he says, it's really tiring. It's really exhausting. I feel I can't help these people and I don't know what to do. I don't know how, it's very, very sad. And I want to be able to fix them. And that's the thing with humans, aren't we? We feel we have to fix people all the time. And And I said to him, it's not actually, you know, we're going to do some more work around it. It's not actually his thing that he has to fix, or it's not his job to do that. It's great to be there as a listener, but how is he going to help himself and protect himself and care for him so that he doesn't get in a you know, because he said he gets sad when he gets home. He sits in his room and has a bit of a cry. And, you know, I said, that's okay for you to do that, because that's really healthy for you to do that. And, you know, doing some journaling and a few different things we've talked about, and we're going to expand on that. But that happens for so many people, don't they? Because we get, you know, things get taken on from family members and friends and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of pressure. Yeah,
definitely. And it's something that, you know, if we don't have a good way of releasing it, or we don't have a way of returning ourselves to the things that we want to focus on, which is what we'll talk about next, is how do we, you know, we've recognized it, how we implement it, but you do get stuck, you know, and it can lead to, you know, depression, anxiety, you know, loneliness, right? Solitude, you know, isolation, because you don't want to go and hang out with everyone because you're always absorbing their stuff. So you stay in the box.
Yeah, for sure. And a thing is, I guess, too, is when, you know, this happens a lot for people, and there's a lot of things that people do confidentially to tell people. And it's actually like, you know, say if you and I had a conversation, I've had a really big week with my clients, and I'm feeling, you know, that I need to share my feelings and my, you know, it's about me, of what I need to share. It's not about my clients. It's not that I'm breaching privacy, or you're not breaching confidentiality or trust from your friends. It's about me sharing, and you and I having a conversation about how am I feeling. And that's the way for you to be able to, for people to be able to know that they can share and do it safely, and not actually giving off information. But it's about you. How can you offload your feelings, your emotions, to get you back into a healthy state, so that you don't have this, you know, unhealthy mind, or the anxiety, or, you know, the depression and stuff like that. So it's pretty important, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, and I think you hit the nail on the head with it, separating the, I guess, the scenario with how they're feeling. It's not how we're feeling. It's how you're feeling, or how I'm feeling. So it doesn't have to be an inclusive experience, which can be easy to fall into. But sometimes you've just got to be there and hold the space, right, and let them feel and express what they need to do, and then boom, then we're good.
Yeah. And it's amazing how sharing how you were feeling as yourself to someone, with that space being held for you. And if you cry, if you just have to sit and just, you know, just be and have that quiet time, or just being able to talk about, you know, the sadness, or the, you know, maybe anger or frustration, or, you know, you can't understand what's actually, you know, you can't articulate, or, you know, be clear on what you're actually feeling. But when you can actually just talk about it, even if it doesn't make sense, saying it out loud, that just helps to find that clarity, and find that you know, find what that might be. It's feeling in your body, or what's the sensations that you might be feeling. And because we're not used to, unless you've done this type of work, we're not used to identifying what those emotions and feelings are, do we? So yeah,
exactly right.
So yeah.
Best tips to do this. So how do we control our focus? What are some practical bits and pieces, takeaways, Kate, that we can give the people to start helping them?
Yeah, one of the things I like to do is actual journaling. So getting out your journal, actually focusing on writing down the things that I want to draw into my life, things that I want to focus on. Doing your gratitudes of a morning is really a great way, and it only takes, you know, a couple of minutes to actually do those things. And it's, people get stuck on that it's, you know, got to be big, massive things that they've got to be grateful for, but it's just such simple things when you really sit and think about it. The water that you've got to drink, and the shower that you get to have, you know, sitting and feel. And when you actually sit and feel, go, wow, I do, you know, having that shower, or having that pillow to, you know, under your head, you know, overnight, you know, those little things can really, when you sit and feel and write it down, it's can just shift the way you think, and the shift, you know, how you feel, can't it? So it's
definitely.
And just journaling how you're feeling, you know, maybe some of the emotions that, you know, those negative emotions, and what can you do to replace those with something that's more uplifting and more positive, to focus on, and reading it every day. Like if you write some affirmations and write some goals that you might have that you'd like to draw into your life, it's having them on, visual. I have stuff on my wall, I write it on my mirror, like just put a whiteboard marker on my mirror. So I get up and actually read it out loud. And once you repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, it becomes subconsciously, that just becomes more natural. So they're kind of the two things that I do.
So we've got the journaling is number one, right? And to write it down. And part of the practice there would be some gratitude, which is always awesome if you want to focus on positivity. And number two that we pulled out is let's make it visual, right? If you use an affirmation or whatever, and let's get it up and about and around. I really like that too. I've got a big whiteboard in my office that is now overtaken by pets. But it's got on one side, it's got our goals and it's our big scratch board for the business. But on the other side, it's actually just full of quotes. Little bits and pieces, things that I've picked up over the years that resonate with me. So some of them are really, really simple. Like one is just a smiley face. And sometimes I'll actually just put a dot or a smiley face on the back of the hand. And it's just a reminder. That's what I'm focusing on today. Just don't worry, be happy, relax, calm down, breathe. These sorts of things will be up on the whiteboard, and they just help keep you focused on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve.
That's awesome. And there's actually an app that you can do as well if you want to download it. It's, those that are watching, it's a gratitude app, and it actually pops up and says, I am grateful. So if you're not really sure and familiar with doing this kind of stuff, it actually pops up with some, different ones. Like, it might just say, I am enough, or it might say, I am, grateful for, my inner love or whatever it might be. So there's a whole heap of different ones that pop up, and they're good prompters because it just gives you a notification and reminds you to kind of go, oh, yeah, okay. And also doing a timer on your phone of a reminder to say stop and have 5-second breath and, think of something positive, or if there's, your affirmation, like type it in there so it brings up and reminds you to repeat it to yourself.
It's so important. There's and the affirmation thing, it's definitely a good state changer. So, if I'm, for example, when I'm in my sales role, you've got everything. It feels quite high pressured, high powered, like you're getting in there. It's a massive rush if you can get a sale, and it can feel like the end of the world if you miss out, and the pressure's on of going, okay, well, we've got to keep everything flowing. You got to put sessions here, you got to do all this sort of stuff. And I've just got a couple of quotes that I've got in a little book that normally lives in the car that just, if I'm feeling it, not feeling how I need to be in there, and I'll just read this over and over again for, 30 seconds and just bang, strength, confidence, power, courage, all the things you're going to need. Yeah, and again and again and again. And then you walk in like this Energizer bunny because you just deliberately put yourself that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've said it, Kate, with myself, that like it's a deliberate action. I'm here. We've got the energy. We're pushing it. We're upbeat. It's not just, it just doesn't just happen. We deliberately get ourselves in that state by focusing on the things that we're going to need to bring out of ourselves for whatever it is going to be. So
yeah, for sure. And there's, it's not every time that we that energized that we want to jump on here, and we've had long days and stuff like that. But it can be, we just switch that by focusing on how important this is for us, how important it is for us, how we love doing it, even if we might be tired. It's like shifting that state, and we pump each other up before we get on, and it can just change like that, can't it?
Yeah, it starts with this bit.
Yeah, exactly. And music's another good thing to shift your focus and your state, change your physiology, like even just moving around a little bit, having a bit of a dance. If I get my clients, if they're going into a job, maybe it's been a bit, or coming home, like we've talked about on other episodes, haven't we? Where, if you have a busy job and you've been really stressed, or going to a job and, things have been challenging, shift that state by, either doing your affirmations or, to play some tunes. And it just, once you lift yourself, it just changes the way of, your whole way of thinking and what you focus on.
Yeah, definitely. And probably my final tip for this, what you focus on, is deliberately plant seeds in the people around you so that they will help remind you of what you're focusing on. So if I want to talk about my new basketball court that's coming soon, I'll start to plant that seed everywhere, and then people will start asking me about it. But you might say, hey, I'm doing this health kick. Yeah, and I'm going to try and learn how to be healthy, and I'm going to try and just eat a little better and start moving a bit more, and just starting to get some focus in the health and well-being in my life. And then people, next time they see you, what do you think they're going to ask? They'll be like, "Hey, Kate, how's the health kit going?" Yeah, you're doing that thing, right? That thing where you eat good and you move.
Yeah.
You mean be healthy? Yeah. That thing. Yeah, I'm not doing that. It's too much effort.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have it's surrounding you, isn't it?
Yeah, cool. And deliberate. It's like, again, this, if you want what you focus on, like if you want the positivity in your life to expand, it's deliberate focus. Yeah, it's not it's going to happen. Go get it. You just go press the buttons, make it do its thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like doing the exercise. You can't just do one rep and expect things to, to have good guns or a good booty or whatever. It's just continued commitment to making the change. If you're sick of things being, always negative in your life, then you need to change that shift and focus on the, other things that are more positive that you want to attract. So the law of attraction, like attracts like.
Yeah. And Kate, you had an awesome quote you wanted to round up on. Hey, I'm going to let you fire away.
Yeah, this one I think sums up what we could have just said this at the beginning and just gone, yep, we're done. Like, I think this is a really good quote. Would have been our quickest one yet. So this one is by Robin Sharma. What you focus on grows. What you think about expands. What you dwell on determines your destiny. So what you focus on grows, what you think about expands, and what you dwell upon determines your destiny. I love that.
Yeah, me too. Hey, and I'll just be dwelling on the positives. Hey, oh man, my life is so awesome all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
All the time. So awesome.
Absolutely. So we'll leave it at that. Thanks again, Tim. Great to chat again this week. We'll see you next week at 8 p.m. next Wednesday for another great session.
Yeah. And we've got it sorted too, Kate. We should say that we'll have a name next week.
We will have a name. Yes,
it's coming.
We will.
And,
yes.
and we've sorted the Hollywood Tech stuff out too. So we are now on both channels every single week as well. So looking forward to seeing you there.
Absolutely. And we're going to have some special guests coming up in the coming weeks as well. So super excited for, where this goes, and look forward to sharing more wisdom and knowledge and experience with you all. So have an awesome evening, and we'll catch you soon. Thanks, Tim.
No worries. See ya.
Take care, mate. Bye.